You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Join us and unwind with a good book. Welcome to Relaxing Reads.
Hi, it's Deb in Halifax.
Hi, it's Simone in Vancouver.
Hey, it's Tanya in Edmonton.
Welcoming you, of course, to another episode. So happy to be back with the both of you. How are you? What's been going on?
Eating lots of chocolate Easter eggs.
Okay, so Deb, you've been eating a lot of Easter chocolate. Now, there's a lot of controversy around the prices of Easter chocolate this year. So are you eating a little less than what you're used to, or are you still just indulging?
I'm still indulging. I thought, talking about it and everybody talking about it and seeing the prices, and that has not stopped me. I can't help myself. I always have had a sweet tooth, but right now, I thought once spring arrives and, we're getting into, or hopefully getting into some better weather conditions, that, it kind of puts you into a different headspace, like, okay, renew, refresh, all those things. But the chocolate is always going to be there.
So what's the one for you? I don't know. I'm a sucker for the Cadbury cream eggs.
Me too. And how about the caramel ones? The caramel eggs?
No,
just like the chocolate.
Big eggs?
No, not as much.
Just the little ones.
The mini eggs. The mini eggs, yes. But they have to be
yeah, those are good too.
They have to be the Cadbury mini eggs, not like the Hershey's Eggies. Like those don't taste the same. So
Yeah.
Totally agree on that. You got to get the Cadburys.
I know.
And you know what? It's like usually a friend of mine at the station here puts a big bag of Cadbury's eggs on my desk, like just random. They're not there this year.
Oh,
it's
really?
very sad.
Well, that's the inflation. Maybe they weren't able to make it happen.
Oh, no.
And,
oh, gosh.
And Tanya, you recently did a little vacay action?
I did a little vacay, yes. I went to Vancouver Island, and it is all sunshine and lollipops there. It's awesome. There's tulips. There's it's just like, honestly, like whenever you go to Vancouver, like when you're from the prairies, you step off the plane, get out of the airport, and you just like humidity just hits you, right? Mm-hmm. Not the same as Halifax, though, Deb. I do have to say that my hair was much better in Halifax than it was on the coast. So there's something about the east-west coast and my hair.
Oh, interesting.
That my hair really loved Halifax.
Wow, because normally
Vancouver. Yeah, it's weird, right?
Normally we do get a bit of, quite a bit, or we can get quite a bit of humidity as well. But I guess maybe it was at the specific time you were there.
I don't know. It's so funny how we base it on our hair, because I feel like my hair, because I'm born and raised in Vancouver, it is perfect here. It is in its element. It feels sexy. It feels great and silky. And then when I go to places like Mexico or when I was in Bali, then suddenly my hair is disastrous. I cannot do anything to make it nice or do anything. So I wonder what would happen. I've never been to Halifax, but it would be interesting if we did a coast-to-coast comparison.
Yeah. You will have to test it out.
I feel like we need like two different kinds of like styling products, like one for when we're at home and one for wherever we are going to help us, because it's so frustrating. I usually just wear a ball cap.
Yeah. And I do that too. Like I won't even take a blow dryer because I know it's not going to do anything for me. I'll just kind of like either leave it wet or just put it back in a bun. And normally I love to have my hair blow dried or straightened, but I just, when it's vacation, I'm not going to fight the hair. I'm not going to win that battle.
Mm-hmm. Like the universal remote, we need universal hair products for travel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But Vancouver Island was awesome. I went to Tofino for the very first time. which is like the as far west as you can go in Canada, and it was absolutely amazing. And I was thinking to myself, going, yeah, I think I could try surfing. Ooh. And then I saw all these people get pummeled, wave after wave in the head. I'm like, no, maybe not. My balance isn't so good, but it looked really cool.
Love that.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Simone?
Just spring break over here. So the kids are home, trying to keep them busy. Now they're at that age where, they're 8 and 12. So they don't necessarily want to do a lot of the camps. They can do like a half day camp. Like I feel like when they were younger, they could go do something for the entire day, but they're just kind of like, we want to be home. So my husband and I just trying to keep them busy while they're home and we're working, or, they get to go see grandma a lot. Like, grandmas were primary childcare for us when they were younger. And then it was like, when are you coming to pick your kids up? Because they get tired. And now since they are in full-time school, they're so busy with sports on the weekends. Both grandmas are always like, can you drop the kids off? Like, when are the kids coming? And I'm like, oh, now you want the kids. And they're also easy to look after and watch. So they've been getting a lot of quality time with their grandparents over the break because we're both working through it. So that's kind of nice. Yeah.
Very, very good. Cool.
Very cool.
I went out recently, like last weekend. I went to the Junos. Or not to the actual awards, but I emceed a couple of events back-to-back nights, and I haven't gone downtown in quite some time. So I was very proud of myself. One, I was able to stay up until midnight and not fall asleep, as I was, hosting these shows, but also remain up past midnight.
Yeah, good for you. It's what? Like I remember the Junos were here in Vancouver back in 2018 and the city just came alive, like as it did during the Olympics. And it's like you want to be a part of it. You want to be a part of the musical showcases. You want to go and experience just the buzz in the city. So it's one of those times I think you just suck it up and say, I'm going to have to stay up late. It's going to be a rough week. I'm going to be, deprived of sleep, but it's an experience and it doesn't happen all the time.
It doesn't. And it really brings everybody together. Like, it's a universal language, music. Mm-hmm. So, to see so many different artists from all across the country, like the talent in this country is really unreal. And everybody is so cool, like sharing who they are, what they've been doing, in a different city with, new artists that they're all meeting as well. It's a really cool vibe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I quite enjoyed the lack of sleep.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah.
And it's like the Junos are sort of like when you do the Juno Fest or whatever, and you go to all the clubs, and because we've had them here in Edmonton, you end up discovering like your new favorite band. Mm-hmm. Like it's so cool. It's such a great energy.
Yeah. Really good vibe.
Mm-hmm. And then you came off of the Junos and did some quick reading like I did for our latest read, The Mystery Guest.
Yes, indeed. Oh, my goodness. So Molly Gray is not like anyone else, is she? She's got a flair for cleaning and proper etiquette, and she has risen through the ranks of the glorious 5-star Regency Grand Hotel to become the esteemed head maid, don't you know? But just as her life reaches a pinnacle state of perfection, her world is turned upside down when J.D. Grimthorpe, the world-renowned mystery author, drops dead, very dead, on the hotel's tea room floor. And then Detective Stark, Molly's old foe, investigates the author's unexpected demise. It becomes clear that this death was murder, most foul. And this case, of course, threatens the hotel's pristine reputation. And Molly holds the key to unlocking the killer's identity. And that key is buried deep in her past. And she knows, like I think a lot of people know, that dirty secrets don't stay buried forever.
Mm-hmm.
They certainly don't.
What a story.
Yeah, what a story. I didn't read her previous book.
I think where
she introduced. Oh! No. So I am coming into this novel like having not read the previous novel, right? So
we should have sent you a copy. Why do I feel like you've been here in our book club longer than you have, Tanya?
I was assuming as well. Oh.
Which is kind of cool though, because I'm coming at it from a perspective of not having read that first novel, right?
Yeah.
So, and many of our listeners might be kind of doing the same thing. And honestly, now since I've read the book, I'm like, I want to know where it all started. You know,
And
I
I
want to know
think-
where it all started. Yeah,
I think Nita did do a good job of kind of keeping some of the elements that you would have found about Molly and her characteristics in the first book in this one. So, some novels, it's like you must read the first one before you can understand it. But I think reading this, it was like a lot of the old one kind of came back to me. But I feel like you said, if it's a new one for you or your introduction to it, you can catch up quickly because it's not like it leaves you lost. A lot of the similarities kind of flow from her first novel.
yeah.
And Molly, I guess for us and others who've read The Maid, Molly has come a long way from where she was. She's really run up the ranks.
She has. Yeah, she's definitely, I really enjoyed her character in this one. I feel like in the first book, we were getting to know her and there were some things that you couldn't quite place and understand, but this one really goes into her background. We get to understand the story about her mom and her past, whereas in the first one, there wasn't much outside of just, again, her relationship with her gran. And I think that would be the reason, Tanya, as you can really, understand that relationship because it's such a big part of this, but Gran is no longer here. So that's that. But this getting to know like Molly's past and things about that, very, very interesting twist for the mystery guest.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved how Nita, the author, kind of broke the book up into before and then into current. And for me, I loved reading the before because I just loved to be inside this little girl's head. Molly is a little girl, and sort of the relationship that she had with her gran and sort of how she sees the world through a kid's eyes. Like I imagined her going up to Grimthorpe's mansion. Like that door must have been enormous for her and like knocking on the door and then seeing Mrs. Grimthorpe and how she, the pinched face and all of that. I could totally see it. And I just, the secret library, the library with the secret door. I just loved the world of Molly as a kid. And certainly, I think all of us can kind of see ourselves in Molly where, maybe we didn't learn like the other kids did, or maybe we're just a little bit special and we just kind of are in our own world. And I loved her imagination. And then I really felt for her because she was misunderstood. She didn't, get school. The students didn't like her. The teachers didn't like her. And if Mr. Grimthorpe ever had a redeeming quality, I think it would be that he said to Molly, you will get your education through books. This is your education and reading books. Like there's so many different ways to learn. And I just loved reading that part. And of course, the whole mystery and the current was very, very cool.
But that's why I feel like teachers play such an important role because all children are different. They learn differently. And if you can find a teacher that can foster your child's needs or understand them and put that work in. Like I know with me, my whole life, I got told I talk too much, which was, just it. And now my son, I hear that about my 12-year-old, like a couple of the parent-teacher meets. Most teachers, again, talks too much, distracting in class. So I'm like, yes, we can work with him and let him know there's a time and a place to be chatty and when others need to learn. But his grade 3 teacher, I remember her saying to us, he does talk a lot in class. She goes, but I'm really going to foster that. I'm going to put him as a class leader. And when there are times, I'm going to have him go up in front of the class and talk about the subject matter and say things and get him speaking because he wants to speak, but just kind of understand that level. And she really worked with him. And I'm like, that's the first time someone's just looked at a chatty kid and been like, okay, well, how do I use this to my advantage? And he would stay quiet after that because he kind of had his opportunity to speak to the class and get out what he wanted to instead of staying quiet for hours. And I was like, wow, if only all teachers could be like that. So you look at Molly, it's like she was different. She had a special gift, we come to know later, but nobody was putting in the work. It was just like, well, this is your child and they don't fit into the mold of what the classroom is. So it was, I'm glad to kind of see her journey and where she came through. And you're right, Tanya, like you can get educated like any which way, just, what's right for you.
Yeah. And I think, she has such a remarkable ability to notice invisible details, like notice things that other people don't. And no matter if you have a disability or not, our minds, while could they can be similar in our thoughts with others, whether it's a classroom or outside beyond our school years. But we all learn differently, don't we? And we look at things. Our perspective is different, and how we take things in and how we interpret them. So whether it's Molly or another child, I think, the fact that your child, Simone, was given that opportunity to kind of, okay, we got to get the thoughts out before I lose them, or before I focus or lose it and go somewhere else. But to be able to have that space and share in that form, I think is really incredible.
And it doesn't happen a lot. Here we are back to grade 4, 5, and 6, and it's like same complaints, but it's like, but that's what those kids remember. And that teacher left the school, and if she comes back, because her kids still go there, he'll see her and he just has such a soft spot for her. And he's like, oh, I saw her mom, and it just really made my day, because that is a teacher, who left a lasting impression. I think that's it. Those people who leave lasting impressions in our life, and from those moments, like Molly as a young child, like the people who were able to kind of see more than what others were seeing, that's what just makes you feel good that you're not invisible, you're noticed.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I loved her relationship with Gran. I don't know, you guys have probably had like people in your life that have really left an effect on you, and then when they're gone, they still have an effect. Like my mom, had the three of us when, I think it started at like 17, getting divorced. She had 3 little kids. So we, me and my siblings, we spent a lot of time with my Nana and Grandpa. And it's like, those are the people that kind of were really affected me in my life, and they're no longer here. But I still hear their words, or I still hear certain things, a take that they would have on a current situation. And so I really kind of connected with Molly that way in that relationship, because I think relationships with grandparents is like something really special. If you're lucky enough to, not everybody has that opportunity, right? But if you're lucky enough to have a grandparent, it's just such a really special relationship. I love that about the book.
And that is why you need to go back and read the first one, because that relationship is so much more defined. And it's a beautiful, beautiful relationship.
Yeah. I think I'd like to go back and read it again as well.
Yeah, there's so many that I feel like we read these books and then you kind of think about them again. Like this one, with the whole concept of later in the book, you find out about the ghostwriter and things like that. It made me think of The Myth Makers, a book we recently read as well, where it was like the author was not all what it seemed, know? So that is definitely a question for Nita, because, you're hearing more stories about this. Like, how common is that in this world of novelists and authors? But definitely, worth going back and rereading. And it's interesting that she was able to kind of weave another story about Molly based on that concept of in a castle that she saw with the maid, the silver spoon, and the rat. Like, taking that for inspiration for this book was really neat.
It is, isn't it? Like where that came from, or how she. I mean, we probably visit a lot of places over the years and don't take note of, where else it could take us, and what that particular, museum or artifact or something, where it could take us in another space, or how much of an effect it could have on us.
Well, that's just it, Deb. I think you say paying attention. So I think that was one of Molly's biggest traits, is she's just so present in the moment. Like if we're all sitting down to have a cup of tea or coffee together, I'm probably going to be chatting my face off with both of you. I'm not listening to the sounds your teacup is making. I'm not looking at if you're putting sugar and milk in. But, for those that are really present in the moment, they're able to pick up these things that like some of us just don't pay attention to.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit like Molly. Like I think I once saw this comedian where they compared like a woman's mind and a man's mind, and men have like little boxes in their brains, and they open up a box and talk about it, and then they put it away, and then they open up another box, and it's all put away nice and tidy. Where women, it had like this, those electrical balls that you put your hand on and you see the electric current like run through it.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, women's minds are like, like we're thinking about a bazillion different things. And I'm sort of like that. I can be talking to somebody and I'm noticing like, maybe the detriment to that conversation, maybe. But I'm like noticing a whole bunch of stuff around me. But yeah, so I'm sort of like Molly that way. And I do a very detailed job some of the time. So I think my brain is sort of always wired to be detail.
I've got a lot of details. I just don't know how to put them all together.
Yeah.
It's just a scatterbrain. I'm like, where did that come from? What? I'm not quite sure. I need a moment. And then squirrel, just like you, Simone,
Yes.
wait,
Yeah.
what?
The best thing about this was, as I was reading this, I honestly had a sudden urge to clean my house yesterday.
Oh, my
Yesterday
God.
I was wrapping up and I'm trying to read the book, but I'm also like, oh my gosh, there's so many things in the house to do. And then once I wrapped up, I just went ham in my house and cleaned and organized. And that could be a part of like just spring being here. We kind of get in that mindset about spring cleaning. But like Molly the maid and her cleanliness habits just really affected me. And I was able to clean my house and it just feels good. So I can see why she loves so much what she does. But it was so nice to see her kind of lean into this role with the detectives, because in the earlier book, Tanya, like they were out to get her. Like she was really fighting hard. And I think the relationship that she created with Detective Stark really came a long way in this book as well.
I kind of got that feeling. There was a lot of animosity there. I could feel it through the pages. But I kind of liked sort of how it all wrapped up, and Detective Stark ended up giving her kind of like a little curtsy, a little bow at the end. And I thought that was really touching. So I do need to, I will go back and read the first book because I want to know about that relationship. But I do think that Nita did a, excellent job of like kind of introducing that character for the first time for me. I mean, I certainly picked up what she was writing, what she was putting down about that relationship. So I found it, I found it kind of cool, and how it developed over the course of the book, from the beginning to the end.
When you were talking about the cleaning, Simone, I had thought about it as well, because I've been trying to get into like a real cleaning mode and get rid of a lot of things in my space. I was thinking, looking in these dusty corners, I'm like, I could not have Molly come in here and do like the white glove inspection, because I would not pass.
Seriously, when I came back from vacation and I looked around my home, and I have 3 cats, and I'm like, good Lord, do I have another cat in here? I needed a Molly. I needed a Molly.
Ooh, that just
it kind of gives that, you know how Molly has all these sayings, right? Like gives a new thing to rise and shine. I never thought of that, but she says that. So her grand did, rise and shine, scrub, scrub, scrub. I do like cleaning to a certain point. Like I like things smelling clean, and I walk on the floor in my bare feet and I don't pick up anything. Like I just it only lasts for a couple hours, but it's really awesome.
Yeah, feels good.
When it happens.
You talking about that reminds me of what's her name, Beulah, and the sweater with the cat hair.
The cat hair.
Oh my god!
Although I do pride myself, I do not have cat hair on my clothes. Like I should invest in those sticky roller thingies, because honestly, I've got a bazillion of them. They travel with me everywhere because I can't stand. I think just because you have a pet doesn't mean that you have to wear the pet on you, right? So when Beulah, I'm like, oh.
That was like an interesting twist on the novel, but it just makes you think when there's like a big breaking story, like a murder at a hotel, and the buzz it creates and people checking in because they want to be a part of the crime scene. I was like, well, that's a bit wild, to have that scene. But with the lambs and everything, there was a lot of, I feel like there were a little more, more exciting characters in the mystery guest as opposed to the maid. Like the maid, we kind of got to know a little more about Cheryl, and then of course there's that issue with Cheryl again. But this one definitely had more characters to kind of get invested into.
Yeah, definitely did. And I would think the same thing if you happen to be like in a hotel. Like first there's this big convention or big event with the author, and then the inevitable or the unsuspecting event, his surmise or demise. And I think I would be very interested too, as an outside party, just being very curious. Here is this incredible hotel with this big reputation, just the grandeur, and wanting to get in to see who are these people and who can I not trust? Like I think I would like to get in on that as well.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything more you would have wanted from this book in terms of, was there any loose ends for you, or do you feel like you kind of got everything you needed?
I guess I was wondering. I was wondering about Molly's relationship or non-relationship with her mother, Maggie. I mean, it kind of. I got a drift of what was going on there. That obviously she's, hooked on drugs or something and just is not reliable. And it kind of made me sad, And also, I wasn't too sure. I figured out finally who Juan Manuel was.
Okay,
so he was sort of like it. It took a while because, Deb, I can see you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some of the small interactions that were in the book made me go, first of all, like, who is this guy? Because then they started using kind of terms of endearment. And then I'm like, it must be her boyfriend or something. So I think as a first reader, I didn't quite know what that relationship was. And then when I figured it out, I'm like, oh, he just sounds so lovely. I think I wanted a little bit more of him, but he was on a business trip, so not part of the book.
Yeah,
Wow.
That way, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because I never really paid much attention to it because we had a lot of Juan Manuel and we had a lot of Gran
did.
in the first novel, and like to read that book just to get a better understanding of it.
Yeah, you will. I think you will really love it. Because it was just a brief meeting in this story, but and then there was at the end of this story we learned something that we hadn't been told of prior to that, and I don't want to give anything away, but it's a very sweet relationship she has with somebody else. And then it turns out to be an even sweeter relationship that I'd like to get a little more of that. I don't know if there's something else coming.
I feel like that's a great question to ask Nita, just simply because I feel like it does open it up for a third installment in the series because there's lots of room to know more about the mother and the father and, the information we got at the end with Preston. So I feel like there is definitely room for that. Hopefully we'll be able to get those answers when we speak with Nita, which we will do during our next podcast episode, a Q&A with Nita Prose, the author of The Mystery Guest. I hope you will join us then. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for kicking back and relaxing with us. We hope you'll join us again on Relaxing Reads.